Well, hey friends. So you've probably seen me talking on social media this week about the challenge I've been doing, the next level challenge. It's been so rich, so good, so just like deep and fruitful. I absolutely loved it. If you have not been in one of my challenges or not a part of this one, I really want you to be in one going forward. And I'm going to give you day one of the challenge in this podcast right here. This is the recording from day one of the challenge so that you know what you're missing, so that you'll join us the next time. Also, wanted to let you know that I am hosting a masterclass tomorrow at 12 Central Time. So right straight up noon. It's going to be the truth behind six-figure earners, the truth that I see about people who make six figures. It's about why the hustle is not what is actually enough to get you to six figures and what it's really going to take to make six figures in your business in 2021. Totally a free class. Go to jenniferallwood.com/masterclass if you'd like to sit in on that. And here is the recording from day one of my challenge. The goal of this challenge is going to be for those of you who want to go to the next level in 2021. I want to set you up for success to do that. So we're going to be talking about something different every day this week. That's going to be the thing that's going to help you to level up in 2021. The thing is it's not working harder. It's not working harder. And if you're somebody that takes notes, like go ahead and just write this down because if it only took working harder to be successful, some of you would have already made it by now. If working hard was all it took to, put money in the bank and be able to, live the life that you wanted and your business to provide everything that you want and your paycheck to be enough. Like if working hard was all it took, then like janitors would, be in a different position and farmers would be in a different position and nothing against any of their positions. But I'm just saying it's not just hard work. There are a lot of people that work really hard. So the point of this week is to not try to get you guys to work harder and harder and harder and harder because ain't nobody got time for that, especially not in 2021. We didn't have time for working harder in 2020. It has to be a different type of work. It has to be more strategic. It has to be more intentional. It has to be what we're talking about here in just the next 5 minutes, which is letting go of the things that aren't working and completely like going, okay, but what is, and let's try that. That's what's going to get you to the next level in 2020. It's not going to be working harder. It's not going to be putting in more 12 and 14-hour days. I love you, friends, but that's not what's going to do it. This year has been really interesting, for most business owners. A lot of business owners have had to shift. Some of them have had to make an entire 360 pivot. Some people have had to just maybe do a little bit of a tweak. But what I know to be true is things that were working and hello, Lola, everybody. Things that were working in 2019, they didn't work the same in 2020. And the things that, in 2020 that maybe you've been trying to kind of put a round peg into a square hole, or you've been trying to figure out how do you pivot? How do you shift? How do you reposition? What should you do? Should you shut down this? Should you start this? I think that there are some people who are really feeling the tension of, okay, what I was doing before wasn't working, but what do I do now? What do I do now? Is that anybody, or is that just our team? Because some things that we've done in the past were no longer working, i.e. we had a live event in April. I mean, hello, you can't gather. So, that was off the docket. Last year, we had a live event also in October for people who are in my coaching group. Couldn't do that this year either. And so, it's been an interesting year in that the majority of us have had to kind of pivot. And so what I know to be true is that things that used to work before are possibly not going to work going forward. And I do not think that 2021 is going to be much different, by the way, than what 2020 has been, at least not initially for business owners. So let's talk first about the title of this whole challenge this week, which was Next Level. Okay, I want to talk about this, and I've got a lot of notes for you guys. And I'm probably going to talk fast because I think fast. And also I just talk fast. But okay, so get a pen and paper and write some of this down, okay? Because some of you, what I'm hoping that you'll catch every day this week is just literally one nugget that will change something. And if you came here just for strategy, look, that's it. You're not going to get just strategy because strategy has worked in the past, but strategy isn't going to work going forward. It's going to have to be, strategy plus the right mindset, plus like making sure you're in alignment with what God is wanting you to do on this side of heaven. Like all of those things are going to have to be positioned correctly in order for like doors to open. They really are. And so, it may have worked before. It literally may not going forward. And so, old ways won't open new doors. I was thinking this morning before I even started about the old television show, Let's Make a Deal. Who remembers that? Who's old enough to remember Let's Make a Deal? So there would be like all these doors, right? 3 doors, and you'd have to pick one that you wanted to go through. And I was thinking about how right now, one of the positions, and I'm going to be praying specifically for you guys in the war room after we're done here. I'm not going to take time to pray here today, other than just that the Lord would make me smarter than I am, and that each of you would get something today that you really need for your business. But what I could see in my mind this morning as I was praying before I came live today is people standing in between doors. And they're like, okay, I used to do this, but I also have an opportunity to do this. And I maybe, I thought about doing this, and you're kind of standing in between the doors. And I was thinking about that TV show, Let's Make a Deal, where you've got to choose one. You've got to choose one. And so some of you right now are thinking that maybe by doing 2 things, like going through 2 doors at once, that's going to be the secret to getting your business to the next level in 2021. And if you've never heard this saying, I want you to write it down because it's powerful, but it's impossible to catch 2 rabbits at once. That's such a good word, because when you're trying to chase 2 things, like maybe you're still trying to keep that brick and mortar open, but you've also decided to start this other thing on the side. That's hard. That's hard. And I'm not saying like, if you have a brick and mortar, then you could be doing the online piece of it. You could be offering a course to other brick and mortars. Like you can stay in that field. But I'm saying if you're trying to make cupcakes and you're also trying to coach people on math tutoring, like those are 2 totally different things. And I think the year 2021 is going to force a lot of people to choose. I think 2021 is going to be a year where you've got to double down on something. Where perhaps in the past you've been a jack of all trades, and you've done a little bit of sewing, and you've done a little bit of mentoring, and you've done a little bit of coaching, and you've got an MLM that you're doing, and you've sold some oils, and you've also considered doing a fitness blog. And I think that the year 2021 is going to be the year when people are going to have to double down on something. And so let that be an encouragement to you today. I know why a lot of times people don't choose. A lot of times it's because you've chosen wrong in the past, and you're terrified of like, okay, I've got all these different opportunities ahead of me in business, and I'm afraid that if I choose one, that I will choose wrong because I did that in the past. And I want you to know that the slate has been swept clean. And I don't want you to make decisions going forward for your business in 2021 based on things that have failed before. Because the truth is, like the year 2020 was the year you could try anything. And people would be like, who cares? It's 2020. I mean, you could sit down at your Zoom meetings with a suit at the top and your, gym shorts at the bottom, and nobody cared. Where everybody's just hanging on by a stinking thread. And so if ever there was a time to like try stuff, it is right now. I promise you, because there's zero judgment from people wondering, well, I can't believe that Jen, or I can't believe that Liz, or I can't believe that Kim or Tiffany, like I can't even believe, remember when they tried selling those leggings and that didn't work? And look, now they're trying jewelry. Like, I can't believe that. Nobody's doing that. Nobody's doing that because everybody's trying to make something work. Whether it's in their life, their family, homeschooling their kids, or whatever right now. So anyway, okay. So the next level for a lot of you is going to mean letting go of the old level. There are things that perhaps that you did in 2020 that they just didn't work. And you're like, but it worked before. And I'm telling you right now, stubbornness is not going to open new doors. That was not in my notes. So that is a word from the Lord for someone. Stubbornness is not going to work going forward. The definition of crazy, Dr. Phil says, is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And so there's going to have to be some innovation and some shifting and some changing for new doors to open coming forward. And that's usually going to mean letting go of the old doors. I mean, it's very difficult if you think of your house. Like, I know just right on the other side of this wall, we have a bathroom and a closet, a coat closet that's, full of crap and needs to be cleaned cleaned out, but that's a whole nother problem. But to open both of those doors at once is like nearly impossible. Do you know what I mean? I mean, get the visual of that. Opening two doors at once is super hard to do. Closing a door and opening another, that's the way that things just work. And so when I was thinking about new level for next year, I was thinking some of you are just going to have to, you're going to have to close old doors. You're going to have to close the old ways of doing things, even though it was perhaps something that you loved. There's somebody here right now, you loved the way business used to work. Listen, I did too. I loved how business was a year ago, but I think those days are behind us. And so I think there's also nobody talking about, I should even just do a podcast about this. So if somebody on my team wants to write this down, there's been almost a season of grieving for a lot of business owners because everything shifted so quickly for entrepreneurs. I mean, things shifted for, people that are working at a day job also, but for us entrepreneurs, a lot of things shifted very quickly. Restaurants were closed down and online things that used to work weren't working anymore. And people were no longer going into brick and mortars. And there's been almost a grieving period, but there has to come a time when you are, okay, I've grieved long enough. And now I'm going to have to get up and dust myself off and continue and head into a new year with maybe just a renewed sense of, okay, I miss the way it used to be, but business can still be really successful going forward. And I'm going to talk to you in just a few minutes about some things some really good opportunities that I see. But the new level, the next level for a lot of you for 2021 is going to include some new ways of doing things, some new habits. So some of you have got some habits that maybe weren't horrible, affecting your business in years prior, but those habits going forward, are going to have just a terrible effect on you. Perhaps you are somebody who doesn't like to start work until later in the day, but going forward, that may not serve you any longer because your audience is all online earlier, right? So like there's possibly some habits that you've had up until now that are not going to serve you going forward. And the other word that I got for a lot of people is the next level may mean new people. Some of you got to where you are in your business coming with a group. Maybe you had this little, this little gang in your industry. And I say gang in a good way. Like you had a girl gang. You had a group of people that you've kind of gotten to this level with. And I know in my knower that for some of you to get to the next level in 2021, it's going to take a different group. Like it's great that you were able to come this far with these people, but those people may not be good for your next season. Now, listen, the Lord told me long ago when he shared this with me that Jennifer, you can't take those people with you in the next season. I've had to have this conversation and wrestle this out with God more than once. And listen, I want you to know it's not that they're bad people. It's just that they're bad for your next season. Who is that a word for today? It's the people that you've currently gotten you to this size of your business and you've done okay, but you're like, I really want to go to the next level. Some of you are going to have to let some people go. And that doesn't mean you're a jerk. That doesn't mean that you destroy relationships. That doesn't mean that you, burn the relationships down, but that does mean there's going to have to be different boundaries. And that does mean that there's going to have to be some replacements happen. Some of you have gotten to this level in your business with certain team members, and those team members aren't even going to be able to go forward with you to the next level. Team members can drill holes in your boat. And if you're like, girl, I'm in the bay, I'm trying to head out to the sea here. Listen, having the wrong people in that boat, that makes all the difference in the world. And so you might have to have new people headed with you into this next season. I wrote down in my notes that 2020 broke a lot of things for business owners. It caused a lot of shifts. Think about I was thinking of some of the businesses that I've just been noticing and watching and making note of. We have several, our restaurants in Kansas City are well, I think they're open at 25% capacity, but you'd only be open till 10 o'clock at night, but you can go, right across the state line, and they're open till midnight. And it's kind of a hot, stinking mess because the strip clubs are open, but the restaurants are not. I mean, this is, where we're at. And, but some of my favorite restaurants, you guys, they've done things like put in a drive-through line almost that they never had before. I think of my favorite Mexican restaurant, Margaritas, and you call in your order right now, and they have a little side street, and literally they've just got cones up, and you pull up up and this little dude jumps a fence and brings you out your bag of guacamole and tacos to the glory of God. And that line is so busy, you guys. It's so busy. My husband, if you guys don't know, Mr. Magic, he came out of the restaurant industry and the food industry. It's where we actually met, was at a restaurant. And so he was talking to a restaurant owner in the last couple of weeks who told him that the drive-through has been so profitable for them, not on that particular restaurant, a different one, but that people like calling in orders, and not the drive-through, but what is it called when you just go pick it up? Carryout. Carryout has done so well for them. They're not sure they'll ever open up their dining in again. They've shifted. They've completely shifted, and they're like, okay, we're going to make, lemonade out of lemons here. And so that's been super successful. Think of like Chick-fil-A, God's chicken. Those calories don't count. How many of you have been to a Chick-fil-A lately? Anybody else have like 4 drive-through lines? I mean, they can't have people sit in either, but they've figured out a way just to get, people in their puffy black vests and their headsets out in the parking lot, like taking orders, and they're zippering people into like the lines where they pay. And it's amazing. I was thinking of the other day, I was on Athleta's website. Do any of you shop at Athleta? They now have a button you can push, which says reserve quick clothing consultation. In other words, you might not be able to go inside of an Athleta store at the moment, or you may be nervous to, or just from restrictions wherever they're at. But this particular clothing company now has a button you can get to on their website, which will then set you up with what they're calling a quick clothing consultation. Listen, I don't know if any of you have ever shopped at Evereve, but I can tell you why I love Evereve, because they kind of like assign somebody to you. It's brilliant for those of us who are like kind of middle-agey, and we're kind of in between, like, what's hip for a 30-year-old, but I don't really want to dress like my mom yet. You know what I mean? And so they have people that literally just grab things off the racks for you and put you in a dressing room, and you find yourself trying on things you never would have before, and you find yourself buying things you wouldn't have thought of before, and you find yourself overspending like you wouldn't have before. You can't tell me that Athleta not putting that button on their website of giving people almost clothing consultations over the phone right now is not stinking genius, because it is. They will sell more doing that. So if you have a clothing boutique, think about that as an option. That's your next level strategy for 2021. That just taking what's kind of working just a smidgen and going like next level with it. How can you double down on that thing? How can you see what people really need right now and just fill that gap? I was also thinking, I took my daughter to Sephora yesterday because I'm mortified by the fact that my 13-year-old, loves makeup as much as I do. It's just, some things are just genetic, friends. My grandmother, God bless her, she was one of my favorite people on the planet. And before she died in the hospital, I kid you not, she sat up, she put on her full lipstick, and she was gone within a few hours. And so I come by this very naturally. So Ava baby comes by it too. But we were at Sephora, and we were walking out to our car, and we're walking through the parking lot and going in between 2 cars to get into my vehicle. And we walk by this car, and the lady's trunk popped open, and she puts down her window, and it kind of startled me. And she was like, "Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I thought you were the one delivering my makeup out to the car." They are literally delivering makeup out to the car so people don't have to go in. I mean, I hope if you've had a brick and mortar that you've caught on to some of these ideas, and then instead of just like, going to bed at night and just crying your eyes out and wringing your hands over what are we going to do to keep this thing afloat, I hope that you have pivoted or shifted. I hope that you have. Because there are ways that the brick and mortar people are making it happen. And I was thinking this morning too, if you are honestly an entrepreneur, if you are honestly wired for entrepreneurship, if you are honestly wired to have your own business, whether that's a brick and mortar or an online thing like I have, or whether you're a network marketer, but if you are legitimately wired to be an entrepreneur, then thinking outside the box, it's already in your DNA. It's already completely in your DNA. It's not like God said, okay, I'm going to make her an entrepreneur, but not give her any of the tools to be able to do the business. That's not the kind of God we serve. You already have thinking outside of the box in your DNA, or you would have stayed at a 9 to 5. You would have. People don't start their own business when they conform to kind of the conditioning of how a lot of us were raised. You get a normal 9 to 5, which is what I used to have. And, every year you try to negotiate a couple more vacation days and a 2% pay raise. And then eventually you retire and die. Like that's kind of how a lot of us were conditioned, especially as we went through college and stuff. Am I right? Entrepreneurs, they may have been conditioned that way, but everything in them throws elbows to that theology because they know in their knower that there's something different available to them. That's the whole reason you became an entrepreneur. You're wired differently. So if you're already an entrepreneur, you're like totally set up to think outside of the box and to try to figure out how you can do 2021 in a different way. We've already got, you guys, in full transparency, at the end of this week, we are going to be offering a new program to you guys that we've never offered before. We've had this in the works for 14 months while we've tried to figure out how to, what exactly do we want to do and how do we want to roll this out? And it's probably only because of 2020 that we finally like, you know what? This is what we're going to do. The whole world's having to shift and pivot. Entrepreneurs, you were born to pivot. You were born to shift. I promise you. Few things that I put on my Instagram this week that are super successful right now. If you maybe have shown up here and you've kind of been playing with one business, but you're like, I just kind of really want to do something different. I'm going to give you some things that are working super, super well right now. And then I'm going to go over the homework with you. Things that are working really well in business right now is online anything. If you used to work at a gym, just do fitness now online. If you used to be a therapist in real life, just do it now online. I see my therapist online. I take all of my fitness classes online. Look at what's happened to Peloton. I mean, if ever there was like a time I'm like, gosh, I wish I had stock in Peloton because it was brilliant. I mean, who could have guessed the timing of that? But, anything that you used to do in real life, can you do it now online? There are people that we were talking in my coaching group the other day. There's people that, hang on. One of their like ninja skills is organizing. And somebody in my inner circle, she was like, do people actually pay, for organizing? I'm like, have you seen the home edit show, for goodness sakes? I mean, literally the other day they interviewed Barack Obama. They're all over television. If you're not following them on Instagram, it's magical. If you haven't seen their show, it's called The Home Edit. It's fabulous. Professional organization. And so if you have some of those skills, or perhaps you've organized, people's houses in the past and you're like, how do I do it now in the middle of the corona? You can totally still do that thing online. I mean, thank you, Jesus, for things like iPhones, which have FaceTime, or the Zoom that I'm using right here and pushing into the Facebook group, that you can download the Zoom app on your phone. Tutoring, if you were a teacher before and you've been furloughed or something because, the schools are shut down, tutor, please. Those of us that have a million kids, some of them on the struggle bus right now because they're only in school 2 days a week. And guess what? Pre-calculus is hard when you're only in class 2 days a week. Like tutoring in the online space is brilliant right now. What else did I write down? Social media strategists. If you are good at social media, doing strategy for other people, doing content for other people, brilliant. Any sort of VA work. I did have somebody message me and she said, what is a VA? It's a virtual assistant. So we have a lot of VAs at Team Allwood who, there's different people that do different things for me. I have a girl that helps me with LinkedIn and YouTube. I have a girl that is a VA for us that does, that helps with the social media strategy and also the content that we put out, writes blog posts for me. If you can do a website, I mean, come on, website creators, if you can do that for people right now, because the truth is so many people are trying to shift. Now, before you want to argue with me and say, but everybody's shifting and now it's going to be completely, overwhelmed and completely like too crowded. I mean, that is a lie, friends, from the enemy himself, for real. There is so much room. When you think about the amount of people in the world, the amount of people on Facebook, 7 billion with a B, last time I checked. The fact that there may be 40 of you all doing the same thing, trust me when I say there is room for more. I promise you that. Some other things, online boutiques, because if you're trying to sit at home and think, okay, I did this thing for a while, but now I want to do something new, or this isn't working as well as I want to, and I want to close that door and open a new one. I want you to think about the psychology of people who are spending. I want you to think about your ideal client and what her habits are. Okay. Let's use myself as an example. One thing that's made me feel a lot better during the pandemic is just online shopping. It's just getting ads on my Facebook feed all day long for different boutiques I've never heard of. And they've got, cute this, cute that. And while I know in my knower that shopping is not the best way to handle a pandemic, it sure makes me feel better. And if my options are new shirt or just go, eat that entire container of Ben and Jerry's half-baked ice cream with a spoon right out of the whole container because it's got raw brownies and cookies, like I'm going to try to go for the shirt every time. So boutique owners online doing so well. And then if you are somebody who's here, and I do know that we had some men during the challenge this time, welcome. We're so glad you're here. But there have been several guys in my group who have been asking me about, like, what do you see, locally that's doing really well? And, we're in Kansas City where I'm at. There is still a huge surge of home building, and even more than home building is home renovations. And so people, since we're being forced to stay home, it's making every woman in America look around and go, you know what I need right now? I need new paint color on the walls. You know what I need right now? I need to redo the bathroom. Like if we can't go anywhere, I want the bathroom to look better. And I can tell you that there is a huge need for skilled labor. There is a huge need for landscaping companies, pool companies, deck companies. One of our neighbors, decided this summer because, at the beginning of 2020, a lot of the pools, at least in the Kansas City area, the neighborhood pools, the public pools were closed down. I'm guessing it's probably that way wherever you are as well. And so the wait right now to get a backyard pool is until the end of the summer next year, because they can't keep up. Pool companies just literally can't keep up. So if you have some skills in some other areas, man, I'm telling you what, anything having to do with decorating your home, redoing your home, people are still hiring contractors. Okay. I have not seen anybody who's like, you know what, I'm just really not comfortable having anybody in my house right now painting my kitchen cabinets. That's not the case at all. That's not the case at all. I can tell you from people I know who are in those industries, they are so busy they can't keep up. People are very comfortable having contractors in their house right now, doing work for them. And so if you have a skill like that, I'm telling you, 2021 could be so great for you, but it's going to require that you let go of the way that some of the things was done in the past.